How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I want to talk to you about curry. Now, if you're anything like me, there is nothing better in this world than a really good curry. I love it. I love good, wholesome food, and especially I love a curry. And what I hear you asking, has that got anything to do with houseplants? Well, quite a bit actually, because the best thing you can do to make the best, authentic, beautiful curry is to add curry leaves. See what I did there? And this, my friends, is a curry leaf plant. Not that easy to keep. It's a bit fussy, but a fun project and a very rewarding one that is very practical as well, because not only can you grow a slightly tricky plant, but you get to enjoy the aroma of the curry leaves, which is undescribable. And if you enjoy a curry, all you have to do is find a curry leaf plant and just smell the aroma, and you will want one of these, trust me. You really will. It is unbelievable. And to pick a few fresh curry leaves and drop them straight into a curry, it will transform any curry that you're making, let me tell you. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, and as I've already said, they are a bit tricky. So in this video we're going to go through the care guide, a little bit of background of this plant, and yeah, I'll give you some hints and tips on the best growing techniques for this plant. Let's go. Alrighty, so the reason I bought this here curry leaf plant was generally down to my wife. She makes the best curries. I would say that, I'm biased, but she really does make some amazing curries. And she said to me, Andy, I grew up with a curry leaf plant in my garden. We used to pick fresh curry leaves to make curry, and it was amazing. Can you buy me a curry leaf plant? And I will use it for the curry. So I needed no more asking, because if it's got anything to do with my stomach, then I'm definitely going to be all in. And actually, this was really difficult to track down, like a lot of plants are at the moment. It's not the sort of thing I've ever seen at a garden centre. So online was where I searched. I couldn't find anywhere. The few places I could find were totally sold out. One on eBay, literally one on eBay, and this is it. And let me tell you, I paid a lot of money for this. Considering it's a relatively small one, you probably can't see. The stick holding it up is probably twice the thickness of the stem of this plant. Now they do grow very leggy and top heavy like this, which is why I've got the stick there. It's not really holding it. I don't want to hold it, but what it does, it just is against one of the lower leaves, one of the thicker lower leaves. And I like to put it outside when it's a sunny day, because it does enjoy the sun. And all this does is stabilize it a little bit. So when it flaps around in the sun, it immediately comes into contact with this and just steadies it, really. That's all that's there for. But they do grow very long and very top heavy, so they are a bit precarious for the first 3 or 4 years. Would you believe this is probably 2 years old, this plant, between 18 months and 2 years old? And the one thing to know about this plant is it's really slow growing. As you can see, this is still just a baby at 2 years old. It's got a long way to go, and even the first 5 years, really, it is a bit thin, a bit streaky, and you know, which makes it tricky. That is part of the difficulty of growing this plant. It's slow growing. It loves the sun and the heat. So if you're in a warm part of the world and you enjoy your curries, then this would be a good one for you, because it does lap up the sunshine. It needs a lot of sun. So when it's sunny outside in the UK, I like to put this outside in a shelter position, because it is a bit precarious, and make sure it doesn't get too windy, but put it out and it will enjoy the sunshine. Make sure the soil is moist enough. If it's going to be outside for long periods, don't want it to dry out completely. But yeah, So I would put this at a medium in terms of difficulty, for the reason that they are a little bit finicky. They do need specific requirements, plenty of sun, not too much water, but enough water. One of those plants that you really have to learn what it wants and what it needs. And it will quite quickly tell you. When I first got this, it turned up in relatively poor soil, to be honest with you. And it was soaking wet. The grower had soaked the plant so it didn't dry out in transit, which is fair enough. But in the UK here, it only ever takes a couple of days to get anywhere. And I left it in the pot and obviously didn't water it. And I think it was 4, 5, 6 days. It was still really wet compost. And it wasn't looking very happy. The leaves were pointing down. The leaves were wilting a bit. And I thought, you know what? I would not normally repot a plant just after receiving it, but the soil wasn't good and I was worried it was going to suffer. So I very carefully, after a few more days that it did start to dry out a little bit, I very carefully removed it from its pot and just let the sort of moist soil fall away. Try not to disturb the roots at all. And I replaced it with a perlite rich, let me see if I can show you that. You see all the perlite, the white stuff in there is perlite. So there's a high concentration of perlite to help it drain freely, but also provide moisture for the roots. And I think that was the issue, because since then it's perked up and it's been a lot happier. So I think I've dodged a bullet with that one. So soil is important. A free draining mix that is reasonably water retentive, but you don't want it to be soggy all the time. So if you give this a good water and it stays wet for like over a week, it's probably too heavy a soil. So you want to lean that out with something like perlite, or horticultural grit as well will help drain the water through so it doesn't sit there too much. So it does want water, but it doesn't want to sit in water. It's one of those sort of plants. As you can imagine, it comes from a hot country, so it needs and loves the sun. And so that's going to be particularly tricky if you live in Europe. In the UK, in the winter, it's going to be lacking quite a bit of sunlight. So try and get it in the sunniest position you can in the winter. Give it as much available sunlight that there is. And if you're not getting much, if you live in just a slightly dark apartment or house that doesn't get that much light, then maybe consider buying a grow light, and you can get these clip-on ones that you could clip onto the side of a shelf and put it over the top there. Just put it on a timer, and then you can give it, say, 6 or 7 to 8 hours of daylight light each day, and that will help it considerably. You can tell how slow growing this is. It's so small you're probably not going to see it, but it's so slow growing. There is a tiny, tiny little stem growing out the top of that. Can you see it? The tiniest little stem with the tiniest little leaves. That is how much growth this plant has put on in about 2 months or 3 months. That's how slow growing it is. It hasn't even grown a leaf. It's grown a tiny, tiny little bit. And to be fair, this came with very little roots. When I did take it out and repot it, there was not a lot of root there. So I was concerned that I spent quite a bit of money. Come on, I'll tell you, I paid about £38 for it, which is probably about 50 bucks. Ridiculous amount of money. But, you know, as long as I don't kill it, I don't mind, because long term, I'm going to get a lot of satisfaction out of this plant. But if it dies, then that's an expensive plant. But I think it was that much money. Firstly, because they're so God damn it, why can't I speak today? Firstly, because they are so slow growing, and anything slow growing will be a lot of money. Just like Buxus is a lot of money in garden centres, because it takes a long time to grow a big, 3 or 4 foot cone or ball in a topiary shape, because they take a long time, and time means an investment in water and care and nutrients, and it costs a lot of money. So being the only one I could find in the UK, and the fact that they are slow growing, this has probably been an 18-month, 2-year investment, and it's the only one he had. You got to pay out for it, and I wanted it, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. So yeah, I paid up for it. I probably paid too much for it, but it's all subjective, isn't it? And I'm going to get a lot of enjoyment out of this plant, and they last for decades and decades. If you can give it what it needs, it will be very happy. I'm just going to have to be super careful over the winter. Now, if you do have a curry leaf plant and you're thinking about making lots and lots of curries, I really am, but you have to be careful when they're about this size. You see, they've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or so branches. If you keep taking leaves to put in your curry, then the plant's not going to be much of a plant. So it needs these leaves to grow big and strong, and certainly in the first like 2-3 years, be really conservative with what you're taking off, because you know it really needs it. When it becomes big and bushy, you won't be able to stop it growing. It will really bush out and have lots of leaves and lots of branches and be a really bushy thing. But it's just this first, say, 5 years, which it really is growing roots and growing stem, and it's just growing upwards and being very leggy. In which case you've got to be respectful and just take a couple. If you're really desperate, take a couple, and you'll see what the fuss is all about. But yeah, let it grow, let it get some branches on it, and then just take a few every now and again. But I think you'll enjoy it. If you want a challenge, I would recommend this. If you can find it, if you're in the US or in Europe somewhere else and they're freely available, go for it. I would say enjoy it. Enjoy having a productive, useful plant that will actually provide you with a useful resource. And yeah, let me know how you get on. Send me a picture on Instagram if you've got one of these. If you're going to buy one, let me know. I always like to see your photos and hear your comments. Let me know down in the comments below what you think about these. If you've got any tips for me. I've only been growing this for a few months, so do let me know down in the comments. All information gratefully received. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Give it a thumbs up if you found it useful, and I will catch you again very soon on another video. Bye for now.